So, um, I don't know if you noticed, but 2011 was a pretty good year for film. It wasn't great. I mean, I wouldn't say there were any like humongously standout films, except maybe one or two. But for the most part, they weren't bad movies. They were at least decent, you know. And I guess that's really all you can ask for when you got years that came before that where, oh my god, the crap ah, piled sky high. And I'm saying there was some crap this year too, like Bucky Larson, Jack and Jill, anything that Adam Sandler had anything to do with. Yeah, stuff like that. I'm not really a I don't really hate Adam Sandler, but God, he really what was he thinking? But that's besides the point. The point is, 2011, pretty good year for film. It's no 1982, but let's face it, there are very few 1982s. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, is 2012 going to be any better for film? Well, I took a look at the movies that are coming out in 2012, or at least the ones that are listed so far, and I came up with a list of my top 10 most anticipated films of 2012. Because, I figured it would be an interesting video. Spark some debate. Let's get going. So at number 10, I put Paranormal Activity 4, which I put there because, well, yes, I know it's just a cheap little movie that they can shove out every year now, right? That's what it's going to be. But, they're actually doing interesting things with it, They're putting like the whole psychological aspect of the horror into it more so than the terrible or the terrifying um, aspect of like the mortal danger that the people are in. You know what I'm saying? So like instead of it being a typical slasher movie, like these uh, horror films that come out every single year are like, um, this one's a little different. This one kind of, at least in some small way, harkens back to the way they used to do things. Anyways, at number 9, I have The Avengers. Now you might be saying, why so far back on the list, Stoud? The Avengers is like the movie event of 2012. I'm saying, is it? I mean, granted, all of these movies have been leading up to the Avengers, and, you know, most of them, if not all of them, have been pretty freaking good. I've had very few complaints, basically. But here's the problem. From the trailers that I have seen, from what little they have shown for the new Avengers movie, honestly, it doesn't look that good. I mean, I think that a big problem here, judging from what I've seen, is that these guys have these actors who have been chosen to portray these characters have tons of charisma on their own or in their own universe, but or in the universe that they've been put into. But when it comes to putting them all together, it's like they don't really get they don't work very well together. They don't meld very well together, which I guess you could make the argument, well, the Avengers didn't really either, but that wouldn't make much sense to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me thinking, these guys don't really seem to have a lot of chemistry together. As great as they are as actors, I really don't see that much chemistry there. And I think a lot of it has to do with the editing that they've chosen for these uh, trailers and whatnot just being atrocious and not really giving anybody a sense for what the film is actually going to be like, and just I'm worried about it. I'll put it that way. I am being cautiously optimistic. I do want it to be good. I do want to see it. I am interested in it. But I'm afraid that it's going to end up sucking. And that's going to really suck because the other movies are so damn good. Alright, so number 8, Brave. The next Pixar movie. This one starring a young woman who will be going up against the patriarchy to try and prove her mettle. And I love movies like that. I love a movie where that has a strong female lead role, and I'm glad to see Pixar doing something like this. I mean, they always have taken chances, right? But I am genuinely interested in this, although I'm not sure how good it's going to turn out, but I'm hopeful that it's going to be one of those things like Up, where I didn't know quite what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised in the end. I got that feeling. I got that Up feeling about Brave. So let's hope my gut feelings are correct. Number 7, Frankenweenie, the remake, as it were, of Tim Burton's original film, of course, remade by, or recreated, I guess I would say, by Tim Burton himself. So it's like the original creator is coming back and doing something more with the concept, and well, hopefully it's pretty good. I mean, people have been, concerned about some of the moves that Tim Burton has made in the past few years, but honestly, I think this is going to be pretty awesome. Number 6 on my list is The Secret World of Arrietty, or the Miyazaki version of The Littles. And honestly, if I need to say anything more than the fact that it's a Miyazaki movie, then what kind of a world am I living in? I mean, what the hell? It's freaking Miyazaki. If you don't see it, you have no soul. Number 5 on my list is The Great Gatsby. Now, how many times has this movie been made? This is a book that I have been forced to read as an English major several times. So, although at first I really hated it, I grew to kind of, maybe not love it, but appreciate it for what it was and realize how artfully well done it is. And just, there's something about it that it's memorable and it says something about a specific time in our country, which is interesting to think about today because a lot of allusions are being made to that specific time and our time, So I'm interested to see where this one goes. It's Baz Luhrmann directing. See, the thing that gets me about that is that Baz Luhrmann is known for, going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs when it comes to frickin' making a movie based on a classic literature text. Like, well, for Romeo and Juliet, he did Romeo plus Juliet, or whatever the fuck you want to call that out loud. I mean, you can type it out, and it's like, yeah, that's the one you're talking about. And then you say it out loud, and it's like, is it plus Juliet? Is it Romeo and Juliet, but with Baz Luhrmann? How do you... I don't know. But yeah, I mean, so there's that. There's Moulin Rouge, which is no literal text. Well, is it? I don't remember. I guess you could call it literal text because it was like, yeah. But but then he also did stuff like Australia, which a lot of people didn't like. But honestly, if you see that on Blu-ray and you see how beautiful and amazing that looks, and The story, while there are parts of it, is like, it wasn't that bad of a movie. And in fact, it was a pretty interesting and awesome experience, to be quite frank. Um, or should I say, to be quite Boz Lerman. Weird name. But anyways, from the looks of it so far, the Great Gatsby movie, it looks like it's definitely a period piece. Definitely not going too far cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You know what I mean? It looks like it might be the first movie like this that he's done where he actually tries to stick to the source material a little more than usual, which would be interesting to see considering it's Baz Luhrmann, um, considering who he is and what he's known for. On top of that, you got some great actors, I believe. I think I want to say Tobey Maguire, but I think it's somebody else. Well, anyway, I mean, Leo, I will admit it, I am a fanboy for Leo. I didn't used to be. I used to think, I hate this guy. He's such a tool. He's such a poser. But, the more I watched him, the more I began to appreciate him. The more I realized this guy is the fuck. I have said it before. I'll say it again. He's the Jimmy Stewart of our fucking times. I mean, I hesitate to say that because it's a little bit of a stretch, but honestly, it's true. If you think about, what we have to work with today, he is the Jimmy Stewart of our generation, and he is just awesome all the time. I have no doubt that he'll be awesome in The Great Gatsby as the Great Gatsby himself. So there you go. Speaking of which, I still want to see J. Edgar. I have not been able to see it yet, but I will eventually see J. Edgar. So if you're thinking of asking me that, no, I have not seen it yet. Yes, I want to see it. Number 4, Django Unchained. Quentin Tarantino. Do I really need to say anything more? I've talked with friends about this who said, it's Tarantino, but then you got Jamie Foxx, and I just don't know how to feel about this. It's like, well, I'll tell you how to feel about it. He has kind of started to make himself known for doing off-the-wall westerns, I mean, Kill Bill 1, Volumes 1 and 2, Inglourious Bastards is a spaghetti western set in Nazi-occupied France. And before that one came out, nobody wanted to believe that that one was going to be any good. In fact, a lot of people were concerned that it was going to be a flop. Even the Weinstein Company, which freaking, paid for the fucking movie to be made. Everything was riding on Inglourious Bastards for them, and lo and behold, it was an excellent freaking film. And it sold like hotcakes, and we still have the Weinstein Company. Thanks to Quentin Tarantino. So your argument about Django Unchained possibly not being any good is in freaking valid! Okay? I understand it's a little off the wall for a Western, but he does off the wall Westerns better than anybody else right now. I hesitate to say ever, but I mean, he does it well, so why worry? Why complain? It's going to be awesome. Just you wait. Number 3 is, of course, The Hobbit. I was not really anticipating wanting to go see this at first because I was wondering if it was going to be what I was expecting it to be, or if it was going to be something a little less powerful, right? Now, on top of that, I was a little upset that he decided to move from 24 frames per second to 48 frames per second, which this movie will be one of the first to be shown at 48 frames per second. In fact, I believe it may actually be the first major film to be shown at 48 frames per second. Well, filmed, I should say, sorry. But, yeah. Filmed and then released. Yeah, okay. So you see what I'm getting at, right? And on top of that, it's in 3D, and it's just like, he's following the school of James Cameron, and that pisses me off because James Cameron pisses me off. But regardless, after seeing the trailer, sold. I'm sold. I want to see this movie. It looks awesome. I can't help it. You know, call me a hypocrite. Pfft, whatever. It looks awesome. I can't help it. So we're getting down to the top two that I'm anticipating the most. And at number 2 comes the not an Alien prequel, but oh wait, yes it is, Prometheus! Of course, Ridley Scott comes back to the world of science fiction. Finally! And it is not an Alien prequel, guys. Oh my god, it's not an Alien prequel. I have to stress that fact a million times. Ridley told me to stress it. It is not an Alien prequel, except for the fact that it's an Alien prequel. I mean, everything in the trailer is from Aliens. It's like, okay, so it's not enough that you have vehicles from Aliens, and then you have characters from Alien, and it's just like, yeah, this isn't an Alien-related movie at all. It's its own fucking venture. Yeah. Who do you think you're fooling? I mean, maybe it's this desire to not want to be known for just that or something. For people to take this seriously on its own without having to think, oh, it's related to aliens and that's why I want to see it. But I'm not going to, judge it based on its relation to aliens to begin with. I mean, is that cool? Yeah. But that doesn't mean that it's going to be a bad movie or a good movie or anything. It doesn't really tell you anything about the movie except for that it's related to a bunch of movies that you know and love. Hell, the last few Alien movies weren't really that good now, were they? And then there was AVP, which he had nothing to do with, but I mean, the Aliens universe has not really gone in some great places in the past 10, 15 years, you know what I'm saying? So, with the way this trailer looks, I mean, this looks like a return to the awesomeness that it used to be, So, I'm really looking forward to that. Love Ridley Scott, love science fiction aspect. Yeah, I'm kind of anticipating it also because of its relation to aliens, or to the Aliens universe, but I'm not going to judge it based on that, I'm just saying that that's one of the reasons I'm like, yeah! It's just not the biggest reason, But anyways, number 1, you had to see this coming. I mean, really, I haven't mentioned it yet, and it's a pretty big film in 2012. What could it possibly be except The Dark Knight Rises? Of course, The Dark Knight Rises. Now, a lot of you might be putting this lower on your list, because I know a lot of people have been complaining about the trailers and complaining about this and that. People started to complain, I can't understand what Bane is saying because there's a mask over his mouth. Christopher Nolan, you have to go back into the studios and do a new sound edit of the entire film to make sure that we can understand what he says, because that is the height of realism. And if you're going to be a realistic director about realistic Gotham, then this is the way it should be done. And then you've got other nerds who are just like, no, it has to be the hyper-real version of Gotham. The Gotham that I knew and loved from the 1980s Batman movies from Tim Burton, which, by the way, was awesome. But, I mean, you're talking about two different things. Can't you just appreciate both? for what they fucking are? Do you have to nitpick every little goddamn thing like it's the biggest fucking deal in the world? It's not. Appreciate it for what it is. Stop trying to compare it to something that it's not, that it's never going to be, that it's not trying to be. Stop complaining that it's not trying to be that. I mean, god damn, can you not appreciate the artistry that went into making these films? And it seems that some people are worried that it's, they're like, okay, The Dark Knight was so good, there's no way this is going to be better. It's going to be worse, and therefore it's going to be the worst film in the series, obviously. It feels like that's the mentality, basically. And to that I just have to say, not bloody likely. I mean, if you really watch the trailer and really look at what it gives you, especially the latest trailer, I think you'll realize that there is a lot going on in this film, and it is looking really fantastic. At least that's how I felt about it, That's why I am really pumped for this movie. But I mean, I don't know. Why is there all this hate surrounding this movie? I mean, at worst, the worst case scenario I can imagine is that maybe it might not be as good as The Dark Knight, but it might be a little bit better than Batman Begins. And if that's the worst case scenario, you should be so goddamn lucky. Batman Begins was a pretty freaking good Batman movie. It was definitely the best one since Tim Burton left the project. And I mean, then that you went to The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight was fucking fantastic. So it's like, if you got something that's in between that, I hesitate to say good enough, but it's fucking good. It's great. You should hope to get something that good out of a trilogy of movies. How many movies do we know of that are sequels that suck? The Dark Knight is a sequel that fucking rocks. If we get a sequel of that sequel that isn't quite as good as that sequel, but is still maybe a little bit better than the original movie that started it off, I mean, freaking hell, man. Even if it's a little bit worse than the original movie, I can't foresee a situation in which this movie would be so bad that it would be considered, one of those bad sequel movies. Honestly, this is probably one of the best series of films ever made, number one. Number two, it's probably, bar none, the best series of superhero films ever made. I mean, you could say the earlier Batmans, but then you'd have to include the Joel Schumacher ones, and you fucking know you don't want to do that, so just shut your mouth. But yeah, I digress. I'm looking forward to The Dark Knight Rises. The trailer got me pumped as hell. Some people saying, wow, that doesn't look realistic, and that doesn't look realistic. And it's like, fucking hell. It's like, for these people, if it doesn't look realistic, they throw a fit. If it's too realistic and it's not the Gotham from the freaking comic book or from the animated series or from Tim Burton's vision or something like that, if it's not the hyper-real, exaggerated Gotham, they flip out. So it's like, either it's not realistic enough or it's too realistic. Make up your goddamn fucking minds. Seriously? For fuck's sake, you need to stop bitching about every little goddamn thing with this. People have gone way too far into fanboy mode with this. You need to be thinking about it as a fucking film and nothing else. A film. Appreciate it for what it is, a film. Okay? Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, that was my top 10 most anticipated films of 2012. Please let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know what your top 10 are. Or maybe, leave a video response with your top 10 so that I can, compare and contrast and maybe get some more ideas for movies to go see this year, right? Right. Alrighty. I think this is going to spark some interesting discussion, so yeah, get to it. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Peace.